this is what you're going to want to do before you use the Spinzall for the first time. And I'm actually going to do something that I tell you not to do. I'm going to close this thing just in case you do it. We'll start from scratch, right? Because the first thing we're going to do when we get this, well, actually the first thing is we're going to install the tubing, but then we're going to take it apart and clean it. So your unit may ship with this assembled already, but it probably will not. So I got to show you how to do it. There's two long tubes that come with your Spinzall. These are the pump tubes, and you're going to want to install them on the back of your unit. There's two things that say in and out. The in is the long tube. This is the tube that you're using to suck in your cloudy product. You just take it, push it right over the in. If it gives you a little bit of a trouble, you can add a little bit of moisture to it, a little bit of water. The second goes right over the out. So remember, that's liquid's going to come in and it's going to go out, and then you take the lid cap, and this is actually sometimes a little bit of a pain in the butt. You got to ridgy because it's pretty tight, ridgy the tube on. You don't need to go too crazy. That's actually enough. That way you can pull it off later if you need to. There, and put it on. So now you've assembled the tubing. This is ready to work, and now we just have to disassemble this and clean it. Now remember, I closed it, which means you can't unlock it without power, so we're going to plug it in, and then you turn the power on, and you press the lid unlock button. You'll hear the solenoid open the locking mechanism so that you can get the lid off. Now this comes off as well. Now notice you turn it, you open it just like a normal, once it's unlocked, you open it just like a normal food processor. Just turn it this way. And this should not be difficult. And then lift it off. This now can be dishwash, it's not a problem. This piece comes off. This really all it does is stop liquids that are coming in from splashing out of your rotor. So if that's not a problem, you can not put this back on if you want, but just be careful because if it touches your rotor, it's going to cause friction, which is going to be a problem. Now this next part, people have a lot of trouble when they're first getting a Spinzall. They don't know how to get the rotor out. So they try to do this. This is going to be a recipe for failure, especially if you have any juice or any particles on your shaft. This is going to be very hard to get out, and this cannot be taken out without also taking the rotor out. So what I'm showing you, even though it seems like overkill, this is the way to do it. Put your fingers on the lip of the rotor, put your thumbs here, and then use your thumbs to push up like this. As soon as the rotor breaks free, you should be able to get the rotor off as a unit, right? And that's how you're going to want to do it, especially if this is full of liquid or whatever else you've been working on, butter, oil. You're going to want to put your fingers here, pop it up, keep it nice and level. That's the way to take the rotor out of the Spinzall. Do not do this. You're going to hurt your tube feeder. It's going to be all sorts of problems. That's the way to get the rotor out. One more time. Boom. Out, right? And in the same way. When you're taking this out, you cannot lift this directly out. It doesn't work that way. You have to use that motion. Once again, in, down, out. That's by design. It cannot fit directly into the rotor. This can be thrown as is in the dishwasher, but this is somewhat difficult to clean sometimes. These rubber tube extenders, silicone rubber, also dishwashable. You could take them off and throw them in the dishwasher separately. Notice there's a little locking tab here to put it back on so that you can put these things back on. Now listen, you can take one off, but you can't put them back in unless you either have them all off or they're all on, because you'll throw the balance out of whack a little bit. Last thing, this here, these tubes are somewhat difficult to clean. You might want to get a little brush cleaner or shove a little bit of a chopstick in there. Try not to lever it too much. You don't want to break it off, but you can clean in there. This, you rotate it, you see that? I'll show you one more time. Hold this, spin it that way, lift it off, this comes apart. There's 3 tabs here, and to put it back together, just do the reverse. Make sure that all 3 tabs are locked down. You don't want it like this. You don't want it, watch now, I can't even do it. You don't want it like this, where it's not locked down properly, right? Locked down. And you want to make sure you clean all in this gasket. You don't have to take this gasket off, but you can. Make sure it's back on, otherwise the centrifuge won't work properly. All dishwasher safe. The next problem people have with their Spinzall is the following. They're trying to get the bowl off, And so they spin the unit like this, and when you've just been working and you have juice or whatever, or if something's caught in it, sometimes it's hard to get it off. And I've seen people sit there and rotate their spins all around trying to get it off. Not the way to do it. Very simply, just go to the back of it, put your hand over it, and with your thumb, push like that. That gives you a lot of force with your hand without having to rotate it around on the table. This comes off, dishwasher. Lastly, if I were you, I would leave this on. What this does is it prevents liquid from being able to leak out of the bowl onto your unit. You really don't want to get a lot of liquid on this because you don't want it dripping into your switches. So take care with that. This, you just wipe down. So all your food contact points, you're going to want to either dishwash or very, very thoroughly clean with detergent. And then make sure you put it all back together properly, which we'll show you in a minute. And then just wipe this down by hand. And that's disassembling the Spinzall and getting it ready for your first use.